So I told a young woman about monitoring spirits today, and her mother is into divination and all this kind of stuff. And it surprises me. She had never heard of it. She'd never heard of monitoring spirits, you know. And it surprises me still to this day, just like with my mother, that people don't tell their children about these things. And how enormously destructive and detrimental it is to their children. I mean, you know, what I didn't tell her, you know, I told her one of the ways, just one of the ways, to know if monitoring spirits are in your life. And the fact of the matter is, we all have them. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not. It doesn't matter. Confirmation. Look, the enemy doesn't give a shit. Not at all. About you. About your, you know, if your pride will lead you to him, he cares about your pride, but he doesn't care about your pride other than that. Not at all. What we fail to understand about monitoring spirits is that there is no exception to the rule. You cannot redeem tarot cards. You cannot redeem crystals. You can't redeem any of those things. If you could, they would have been redeemed already. Because I'm quite certain that a lot of Christians have prayed over them. And a lot of good people have prayed over them. You know, what I found myself doing today was, I was so annoyed with this young girl for not listening to me. I told her one of the ways that you can tell if you have monitoring spirits in your life was, oh, that smells so good, was, you know, a feeling of being watched. And she, you know, she said, oh no, I never feel that way. And it's our carnal mind that is enmity against God, that refuses to let us see the truth. Even when the truth is right in front of us, we don't see it because we're so caught up in our pride. Because we're so caught up in, you know, no, that won't happen to me, or, you know, I don't do that, so that won't happen to me. You know, and it's that carnal nature inside of all of us, our human mind, our, oh, pardon me. I just ate a bunch of vegetables with garlic. It's really good. Excuse me. It's that carnal mind that is enmity against the Spirit of God, that will always lead you down the wrong path, that will always make you feel like, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me, or that can't happen to me because of A, B, and C. Bullshit. It can and will and does happen to all of us. All of us. I genuinely, I know that just like guardian angels, we're all assigned monitoring spirits. They can do and will watch all of us. And maybe you won't experience it right away. But what I didn't tell her, what I forgot to tell her, is that the whole reason that monitoring spirits watch us at all is to block us, delay our blessings, block our blessings, etc., to cause havoc and chaos in our relationships, whether it's a romantic relationship or relationships with our parents or friends or whatever. It doesn't matter to them. They don't care. 3, 4, 5 on the timer. So, and the whole point of it is to mask themselves as something that's good, as a spirit guide, or as, you know, a dead loved one, or whatever the fuck they, you know, they manifest in your life as. And they're not there. They are servants of the enemy. They have no good intention towards any human being. They might give you some knowledge here and there, but that's only so that you will believe them next time, and so that they can destroy you more completely the next time that you trust them. And that's the truth. As totally fucked as it is, that's the truth. And like I said, 4, 3, 2 on the timer. So what I found myself doing today was I was cooking my lunch, and I found myself like so annoyed with this girl because she's like all of 26 years old, doesn't really know much of anything yet. And not that I'm not putting her down, but when you have the experience, what I'm saying is, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not putting her down. what I'm saying is that when you don't have the experience, the firsthand, I went through that experience, it's very hard for us to believe things that we haven't been through. People can explain things to us, they can tell us about things, but really until we've been through it ourselves, it's very hard to understand. And there are so many things that I wish I had been told when I was younger, because I was one of those people that learned from other people's mistakes. I did. I learned a lot of different things from watching other people fall down repeatedly and be miserable doing it. I learned a lot. And so when other people refuse to learn from my mistakes or from the mistakes of others, it like brings up this, this agitation in me it's really of my pride, and I know that. And and looking for exemptions, like, oh, well, I'm exempt from that because of, like I said, A, B, and C, or that's not going to happen to me, and people are so sure, just like I was so sure. There was a time when I was so sure about a lot of things, and I was wrong. I was so wrong. I was totally, totally wrong. And yet, in that time that I was convinced that I was right, you couldn't have told me otherwise. Nobody could. Nobody. It was not until I experienced those things, confirmation. It was not until I experienced those things myself that I didn't have to experience all of them, but a lot of them I did. And it wasn't until I experienced those things for myself that I started to realize how wrong I had been, how deceived I was, how prideful I was. Because, there's really three sins, three things that bring us into, or bring us out of alignment with God. It's the pride of the lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. Those three things. You can cover, every sin is covered by those three. Every sin falls under those three categories. Some sins have all three, but all three of those categories, every sin that you will ever commit, or that I will ever commit, or that will ever go on in the world, fall under those three categories. So, when I saw myself just today, abnormally, like, agitated at this person that I don't even know. Like, I don't even know her. But I realized that really what agitated me about her behavior was that she was acting just like I acted. Can't nobody tell her nothing. And when we don't submit our will, and when we don't submit ourselves to the Lord, that's what happens. We are so sure we're right until we are humbled by life, by God, by our circumstances, by other people. And then we start to see, and I feel that same uprising, that upwelling of pride saying, that's just not right, and blah, 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 blah. Well, even though it doesn't feel right, it may be right. So I found myself with just this enormous amount of pride welling up in me. And I was thinking to myself, what are you doing, Rebecca? Like, why are you doing this to yourself? Nobody's doing this to you. She's not doing it. The monitoring spirits are not doing it. Nobody's doing this to you but you. I was tormenting myself because I was thinking I could save this person by telling them. And the truth is, I can't save anyone. I cannot. I can tell them what I know. I can show them the way. I could, point things out to them. But truthfully, at the end of the day, no one can tell anyone anything. No one can make anyone do anything. Not really. And if you are bending someone's will, that's an entirely different kind of sin. But, if you have to bend someone's will, or if they feel like they have to bend yours, the truth is you don't need them, and they definitely don't need you. So, I thought of, confirmation. Oh, that's gnarly, confirmation. But I kept thinking, well, maybe I should better explain to her, what monitoring spirits are and what they're here to do and why they watch us and on and on and on. And I thought to myself, you know what? You've told her enough. And I did. I went ahead and I thought of all the things that I would say to her, right? Like, all the things that really I would have said to myself if I had the chance to go back in time and tell myself, what was really going on. And I finally just landed at, you know what? That's your own pride, Rebecca. It's your own pride talking. And, you need to submit that shit to the Lord. You need to take that straight to the Lord, because truthfully it exalts itself above the knowledge of God. And I just won't have that. I won't have it. I will not let those things, my own carnal nature, ride me into the ground like it has for so much of my life, and let other people's carnal nature ride me into the ground. I mean, I have had horrible lies told about me for decades, and I didn't even know that people were saying that. Like, I didn't even know, but it destroyed my reputation all the same. And when I found out about it, it destroyed my self-confidence. And in a lot of ways, I allowed it, because of my pride, because of my hurt pride, my injured pride, I allowed it to lead me away from the Lord instead of to Him. And I just, at this point in my life, I've lost so much already. I mean, I've lost, just about everybody in my life. I think I have a bite on my neck. I mean, I've lost, all my family members. I've lost most of my friends. The friends that I do have, or that I had that were still alive, sold me out, talked badly behind my back, continued to talk badly behind my back, and went way out of their way, did way too much to just generally fuck me up. And was all of it unfair? Yes, of course it was. Was all of it unkind? Yes, of course it was. Was all of it cruel? Yep, it sure was. But instead of sitting around and, bemoaning how other people had treated me, I just decided to go with God, because nobody was ever going to treat me the way that I deserve to be treated, not like God can. And it's not like I've just given up on people or something like that. It's not that at all. Oh. Excuse me. Oh. Ooh, pardon me. Oh. Pardon me. Oh. Buddha's digesting. 12:33 on the clock. It's not my job to sit around and show God or tell God what was unfair. God knows how I feel. God knows what was done to me. He knows about all of it. He knows about all the things that I never even heard people say. He knows how many opportunities I lost because of those people's shitty pride, because of those people's deception in their own lives, in their own minds. Oh, I hope that I just knocked that down. The wind is just like off the hook today. Like stupid wind. I can't even. It's ridiculous how windy it is. Hold on, I gotta grab that. Like it's so windy. I mean, it's off the hook, crazy wind. It's not natural. I'm just gonna say that. I mean, I know it doesn't feel natural, and the reason I'm saying that is because it's so agitating, and I don't know why exactly, other than to say anything that's not of God agitates me. Is the truth. That's why what she said to me agitated me. That's why the wind is agitating me. And truthfully, the fact of the matter is that I insist on peace, and I will not have my peace stolen for anything. I don't care what it is. Even my own pride cannot keep me from having peace in Lord Jesus. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I've had so much of my life stolen from me already. I'm not doing it. I literally refuse. 14:41 on the clock. So, when, and I've done this exercise before, when somebody says something that annoys the fuck out of me, one of the first things I do, or say just a person just annoys me and I can't place why, I can't put my finger on why they annoy me, or maybe they do something that really annoys me, and it really gets under my skin. One of the first things I've learned to do is to ask myself, what is it about them that reminds you of you? Yeah. And it may not be that specific thing that they do that annoys, that you do too, but it's some aspect of it. Typically, when people annoy me really badly, it's because I haven't dealt with that aspect of my shadow that just annoys me. I haven't brought that in obedience, captivity, and bondage to the foot of the throne of Jesus Christ. It exalts itself above the knowledge of God, and it just annoys me. It irritates my soul. And there's a reason for it. It's typically because it's something that I haven't paid attention to, that I haven't taken that part of my shadow and not made friends with it. Don't make friends with your shadow. You need to process that, yes, and feel the pain and the hurt, and sometimes that's exactly what's necessary. But typically, at this point, what I'm finding is that, those are parts of me. I mean, I want all of me to be as light as possible. I don't want shadow. I don't want to make friends with my shadow. My shadow never did anything but cause me pain, deceived me, and potentially led others astray as well. I want no part in that. So when I find parts of my shadow that just, irritate the crap out of me, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's shadow work. But like, the shadow work is to make that shadow light, not to make friends with it. I don't want that. Why would I want to make friends with the kingdom of darkness that doesn't want to do anything but lie, kill, steal, and destroy? Yeah. And I've even had people tell me, well, maybe if you stopped viewing that aspect of yourself as your enemy. What? Yeah, no, my self-deception is my enemy. It has nothing good in store for me. I have to go through, dig that out, process it, and place it into the light of Christ, to purify it. There's no other way. There's no other way, as much as I would love to think that there is. And I went through this period of my life where I was saying, well, Christ isn't the only way to God. Yes, he is. Unfortunately, that's the truth. I mean, fortunately and unfortunately. Unfortunately, because many people will deceive themselves into believing that that's not true. And, also fortunately, because there is a way. I mean, imagine if there was just no way. Ugh, I wouldn't want to live in that world. I would never want to live there. But, when I found this young lady irritating, just really irritating me today, I thought, yeah, that's my pride. I'm literally fighting with myself, because I'm not talking to her. I'm not arguing with her. I'm arguing with myself. And finally, when I saw it for what it was, I was able to laugh at myself and just be like, oh my God, Rebecca, really? Again? And this is the sanctification process that God brings us through, is not just to make sure that we're not lying, killing, and stealing from each other, and, sleeping with each other's husbands and wives. And that's like the big stuff. But God will go through and sanctify you to the point where you're not even thinking evil thoughts anymore. He will take you to the point where you're not speaking anything but blessings on other people. It's a long road, and it's difficult. It's not easy. I would never say that it is. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And I thank God for the simplicity. Most of it's very simple and easy to understand. And in that, I literally just praise the Lord, because if it weren't simple, I probably wouldn't be able to get through it. Neither would anyone else. Because, the moment fear hits us, the moment we start, feeling like that person dissed us and we've got to get back at them, why? Really, all the harm that I've ever done, I really only did to myself. True story.
Oh.
Pardon me.
Oh.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Ooh, pardon me. Excuse me. So, when you start looking at it that way, And I'm not saying that nothing I've ever done has harmed anyone else. That's not what I'm saying. Don't hear what I'm not saying. What I'm saying is that ultimately I'm the one who had to pay the price, the ultimate price, for all the harm that I've ever done, that I've ever spoken, that I've ever thought. And when you think of it that way, and you realize that you're really ultimately the only person that you're hurting with your crappy attitude, with your crappy actions, with your crappy words, you stop wanting to do those things. You stop wanting to think those things. You stop wanting to be that crappy thing. And it's, I think it's a lifelong process. I don't think none of us are ever, completely purified. That's just not possible. I mean, I think it's possible. I just think it would take like an enormous amount of work and time. And so, I thank God for time. As frustrating as of a dimension as time can be placed upon our lives, the fact of the matter is, the reason that we can be forgiven, that human beings can be forgiven for our transgressions, is because we sin inside of time. The reason that demons, hear what I'm saying right now. The reason demons and Satan himself and the powers and principalities, the reason they cannot be forgiven is because they sinned outside of time. Their sins are timeless. This is why God removed us from the Garden of Eden, so we wouldn't eat from the tree of life and be eternal creatures like demons, like God's holy angels, although they don't sin. And, and the demons and the powers and principalities, they sinned outside of time, so they cannot be forgiven. So I'm glad that I have time in my life, that I have that dimension of time, because without it, there simply wouldn't be any forgiveness for me. This is part of the reason we're put into, thank you, Holy Spirit, this is part of the reason we're put into human bodies and we don't live in our spirit body all the time. Is because without living in these mortal bodies, we would not have forgiveness. God is extremely elegant and exquisitely beautiful in his design for things. When we start to see it for what it really is, it's just beautiful. So, I wish you all success with your battle with your own pride, because I need it too. Man, pride is a bitch, really. And it stings too, it does. It bothers me. Until I start calling it out for what it is, I know what it is, and then I'm like, oh, well, duh. But, anyhow, I hope this video finds you blessed. Love, blessings, and compassion to everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Peace be with you.